All right, folks, running a little bit late. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but it is hot out there. It could be worse though, because it is definitely hot over there in Arizona, Las Vegas, a lot of other places. It has definitely got a lot hotter than it is here and everything. So definitely, it is a hot day here in the Carolinas. I know I just came back from running some errands, and y'all can see the sweat running off of my forehead and everything. So it is definitely a hot day. And definitely, that's one of the things that I observed. I also was observing the football game that happened, not football, basketball game that happened yesterday, that between the Bucks and the Phoenix Suns. And in this case, the Bucks won, and they won by like about 20 points. So they were actually pretty much in control of the game, the whole game. But, one of the key Phoenix players sat out a lot of the game as well. He wasn't really in the zone and all of that. So he was not playing all that much, and he actually sat out, I think, most of the fourth quarter, if not all of the fourth quarter, but definitely sat out. And we'll see what happens in the Wednesday game when that happens, whether it'll be a 2-2 tie or whether Phoenix will take a commanding 3-1 lead heading home back to Phoenix and trying to wrap it up at that point. But we'll see what happens, because I'm personally thinking that this is going to be a 7-game NBA series. That's what I've told a couple of folks here on the network, as well as just out and about in the public. I'm feeling like it's going to be a 7-game series. I don't think we're going to do like the NHL did and have a 5-game series, but I could be wrong and all of that. It won't be the first time, and as my mom has told me, it won't be the last time either. So definitely, that's my thoughts on it. But I'd be curious to hear what other folks have got to say about it. Also, I'm going to check into Pottage, because I did have a guest that was scheduled, but of course, yours truly was running late because I was trying to take care of some errands and some other things that needed to be done. So I'm going to check in on that site and see if they have sent me a letter saying that we popped in and we didn't see you, or something along those lines. So that's what I'm going to check in and all of that. But if folks have got thoughts about a number of things going on in the world, the radio show with Mark Lee is always glad to have conversations with our guests to see what they've got to say. And I appreciate Mr. Lampkin coming in and saying how much he enjoyed the opening, and I definitely appreciated those comments from him, Ralph Lampkin Jr. So definitely appreciated him checking us out and saying what he was feeling about that particular opening. That's actually an opening that was created for me. I still got to get some openings for Mullins and Music and Memories, but we'll find out when that happens, or if it happens, and how it happens. But definitely, I would like to get one for that, and I'd also like to get one for the online dinner party, and that's on Wednesday afternoons. Speaking of the online dinner party, don't forget that we have added a new component to that as well. That new component is actually going to be a showcase. So we would love to see artists be showcased and all of that. So looking forward to seeing what folks have to do in that regards. I'd love to get some people doing music, poetry. If you want to do some soliloquies, acting soliloquies, that would be cool as well. And any other things that you would like to showcase, because I'm going to try to have like a 2 or 3 showcase segment within the context of the online dinner party. Don't worry though, we're going to keep going with the mystery guest as well, because I love that little trivia thing. And of course, I love researching these people, finding out things about them that folks may not have known, or that they may have only thought that they knew about some of these heroes and all of that. So definitely, that's one of the things that I am looking forward to doing, is checking out those folks and seeing what they've got to say as well with their talent. And I've been reaching out on the Clubhouse and some other platforms to see if folks were interested in appearing, or how they were interested in appearing, if at all. So like I said, that is one of the things that I have added to the online dinner party, is the showcase. And I have not given it a full title. It's not like the lip sync battle, which Brian Schumann came up with, and which I have to actually do at a later time and all of that. Because actually, I'm going to be in the lip sync battle on Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to that. And we're going to see how that works out as well. So definitely, it'll be fun and amazing. I'm still thinking that me and Tim won the last time, but who knows? Other people may disagree, and they may think that they were the actual winners. But we're going to find out what folks' thoughts are, and if they think we won or other people won, in that being the other people being Brian and Nancy. So we're going to see who folks actually thought was the winners and all of that. So definitely looking forward to conversations with people and seeing what they've got to say as to who they feel the winners in the contest were, or if they even have a thought on that matter as well. So, like I said, waiting to hear from Edwin Frontazo. I believe he was the person that I had scheduled to come in today and everything. So hopefully he's going to come in and share a little bit about the things that he is involved in as well, because we always love having amazing guests and all of that. So definitely hoping that he will be popping in here and sharing his wisdom and all of that. Definitely, I'll be writing to him and saying, hey, looking forward to seeing you come in and share your thoughts on a number of things going on in the world, and also how he got involved in the aspect of business and everything that he is part of as well. One of the things that I was going to say, we always love to check in on LinkedIn and the LinkedIn news to see what they've got to say about a number of important issues and all of that. So, one of the articles that they had was reopening. Why don't I feel better? The country is currently or slowly returning to normal. Mask mandates are being lifted, even though I was just on the bus and there were a group of folks that were getting on the bus from the Fuquay Business School, and the bus driver was very clear that he still wanted them masked up and all of that. And I definitely can see why that would be a concern. And we also know that there is people asking for masks to be on the buses. That's tight environments pretty much throughout the country, I believe, and everything. But if you've heard differently, definitely let me know about how things are being handled in your country. And of course, we're also hearing about a bus driver shortage, because I know they mentioned it at our bus terminal, and I've heard this is a national problem. So there are not enough bus drivers, and for that reason, they're actually limiting some of the services here in Durham, North Carolina, and I believe in some of the other cities around the Carolinas as well. So definitely it seems like a lot of people are not necessarily going back to the jobs that they used to have. And of course, some people may be still concerned about their own safety and everything. So there is a shortage apparently of bus drivers. And apparently, from what I'm hearing, it is a national shortage. So definitely, and I don't think it's just the buses. It's probably the regular mass transit buses like what you see going around your city, but also the trains. And I would not be surprised if there isn't a shortage in the subways and even in the interstate buses like Greyhound and Trailways and things of that nature. But I'll do a little bit of research and see what I find about that. But like I said, there are definitely around the country mask mandates being lifted and vaccinated individuals can gather. So what this article is saying is, why don't some of us feel better? And psychologist and coach Dr. Richard Orby Austin urges us to remember that huge changes we went through while accessing our feelings. No matter how flexible you are, you will still have an emotional response to change, he says. And definitely it looks like they're going to be featured on a Hello Monday podcast later on if they haven't already had it already. But definitely Richard Orby Austin, PhD, on reopening. That's what he said about change, and change is just having an impact on us no matter what we're going through, all of that. And definitely Tasha Yorick, with the who is a New York Times best-selling author, added that as you begin to bring employees back into the office, make it a habit to regularly communicate the context for your decisions and the intentions behind your actions. You won't just have a positive effect on those around you, you will become more trusted, respected, and effective in the process. Also want to make sure that your team knows this wasn't a decision made haphazardly, according to an article by Amy Gallo by the Harvard Business Review. So definitely that's just some of the things that are going on. I know a lot of people are still blown away by the fact that Sir Richard Branson went into space, and they're still trying to figure out what this means for a potential space race. Maybe we're going to get into consumer folks going into space, but I'm actually thinking that it's still a toy for the rich and the super rich, and I am nowhere near that and everything. So I'm still trying to figure out the big deal about it and how it's going to play off in terms of giving folks an opportunity to even go out into space if they wanted to do that. And I know a lot of people are probably like, I have no intention of going into space. You cannot talk me into going into space. And, it's just way too much danger out there and all of that. So definitely that's some of the things that are going on. I see that Donnell Lewis is watching, and I remember Donnell Lewis from my days at Central and everything. So Dr. H. Donnell Lewis was saying, way to go, Mark. We're so proud of you and this program. certainly gives us a glimpse into the mind of a genius. At least I can say to my friends that I knew him before he became rich and famous. Love you, man, and I love you back, Donnell. Don't know about the rich and famous. I am far from that. I was just actually thinking to myself that I've got to take care of some bills, and that's part of the reasons that we started a little bit late because I've got to take care of those bills and had to put some money into the account based on a gig that I have had and everything along those lines. And Deborah Coleman was adding claustrophobic, and definitely I can understand a lot of folks have been claustrophobic. I've actually, in the last several days, gotten out of the house quite a bit, and I'm glad that I have gotten out of the house. I did the on the 4th of July, which is a regular thing for me, usually participating in the and definitely enjoying the and all of that. And definitely, I have known other folks that have done things along those lines of getting out to do concerts. And I did see people out and about on the bus, running errands and doing a number of other things. So yes, I think folks are starting to get out more and about because they were definitely getting tired of being cooped up in the house, and they're definitely glad to see that things are improving. And actually, on Friday, my friend Crystal Austin was doing a fundraiser at the Longview Brewing Concern for the thrift store that she is in the process of putting together, because we are already claiming that that is going to happen and everything. And this will be a thrift store that will help folks in the autism community. So the employees will be in the spectrum and all of that, and they will be working and, of course, providing some great clothes, but also it'll be a great employment opportunity for them and a great way for them to get acclimated into society and all of that. So definitely looking forward to that. Reese Palmer was truly amazing, as was DJ Axiom, real name Pedro, but he's a Raleigh institution and does a lot of things in that community. So it was great having him involved as well. So I definitely was glad to see him participating and the things that he was able to bring to the show also. So that is one of the things that is going on and everything. I do have a dear friend in Las Vegas, and apparently Las Vegas is welcoming familiar visitors. So apparently the other side of the Las Vegas economy, trade shows and conventions are slowly coming back, according to the Wall Street Journal. Those eager to return to pre-pandemic norms are hitting expo floors and nightclubs, mostly mask-free, as America's gambling capital attempts to revive its massive lucrative business travel business. So definitely looks like they are trying to come back and everything. And like I said, I know that a lot of people are very much interested in that. As a matter of fact, the columnist for the Wall Street Journal were saying that she went to the 35th annual nightclub and bar shows. And I know that my friend Ray has been to that. He tells me that it's a truly amazing event and that I should try to get there one of these years, even though I have never been. But it is one of the first major trade shows staged after the pandemic. It was quite a scene for the 9,000 plus registrants, from the free flowing alcohol starting at noon each day on the expo floor to the after parties at massive nightclubs. Although the crowd skewed slightly older, there were plenty of millennials and other young people attending the show. Some had slickly branded startups selling things like glass barware and dehydrated garnishes, and others were shilling software and technology innovations for the nightlife industry. Nearly everyone there said there's no substitute for in-person connections when it comes to making sales and raising awareness about your brand. She was saying that they also met a wide variety of entrepreneurs, from a couple looking for tips to improve their campus bar in Indiana to old friends seeking distribution for a snaps-like shot they called Nuke Waste. What a name for a brand of liquor and everything. There's really nothing like a trade show to get all those people under one roof, which is why Vegas is remaining bullish on the future of meetings and convention in the post-pandemic world. Definitely, it does look like folks will be getting out more and more, and particularly attending these kind of things and everything along those lines. John A. Bangkok, a marketing and social media manager, was saying, how many of you are looking to attend or rent booth space at upcoming in-person trade shows this year? And he was saying he's still on the fence regarding these larger events, but may change his mind next year. So definitely a lot of folks will be paying attention to what's going on in Vegas, what's going on in Florida, what's going on in a number of other places. Like I was saying, even the show that we did, I did not see that many people. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to think of, I know that when I got there, me and some of the people that were part of the team had all masks, but I'm trying to think if I saw anybody with a mask on. And in reflecting back on the memory, I can't think of anybody that did. And I know that eventually we took ours off as well. So definitely it'll be interesting to see how people react and all of that. But I'm very fascinated to see what folks have to say about that and everything. And Deborah Coleman was asking me, what are my thoughts on the Delta variant regarding the shortage of bus drivers? And I had heard about the shortage of bus drivers right around the time that the Delta variant was in the news. So yes, that is probably a factor, because we do know that the Delta variant is impacting a lot of things going on in society, and we know that it's impacting definitely other parts of the world. I know it's definitely impacted India. It's definitely impacted parts of Europe and parts of other countries around the world. So it would not surprise me if the Delta variant is not playing a role in the shortage of bus drivers. So that would not surprise me in the least bit, particularly as bus drivers are probably concerned about their own safety and all of that. So that is a very good point, Deborah, and I would not be surprised if that is not a factor in the least bit. So I would not be surprised if that is not a controlling factor in some of the reasons that these things are happening and all of that. By the way, apparently Amazon wants to go into even new and bolder endeavors. Amazon has been given the go-ahead to monitor consumers' sleep habits following approval from the Federal Communications Commission. The tech giant can now use a radar sensor to sense motion and enable contactless sleep tracing functionalities, which Amazon says could help people with mobility, speech, or tactile impairments. The sleep tracking device, part of Amazon's move into healthcare, will allow users to detect sleep issues, potentially producing significant health benefits. I can understand it's kind of like that that you used to have to press whenever you were in a panic situation. And I remember that commercial, even though I can't think of the name of the product right now and everything. But it sounds like this is the reason that Amazon wants to get into this field. But I do know a lot of people, including even our buddy Jay here, is concerned about privacy concerns and all of that. So it'll be interesting to find out what people's take is on the privacy concerns and also how they would handle that and everything along those lines. So I'll be very curious to hear what people have got to say about a number of these issues and all of that, but definitely waiting to hear from folks. And I've got some other news items that I will report on as well. But right now I'm going to take just a slight break and let y'all check out a couple of things going on, including I've got a good friend of mine who is actually out of town, because usually she would be doing her show on Tuesday, but she will actually probably be running a show from the past and everything. But Barbara is a truly amazing person, so wanted to let her get a little bit of a shine here as well. So I'm gonna let y'all check a little bit about what Barbara the business coach is all about.
Are you ready? My coach, Barbara H. Smith. Why did I hire her? Because she's the best.
Barbara H. Smith is a powerhouse. She just walks in the room and grabs your attention, and she does that in a way that just makes you feel loved and like she's paying attention to you. She cares about you, and she wants to see you be your best self.
She was able to dig inside and find the passion that was deep within me.
Barbara's energy is one of the reasons that I had to have her as my coach. I love the way she is real with people.
The reason I felt like I needed a coach was because I have some big goals and I needed to build my confidence. I knew that Barbara could help me do that.
I felt that I could trust her.
I would definitely recommend to get coaching from Barbara H. Smith if you feel like you need to level up your confidence. She would just help you feel like bold, like you can take on the world.
She has really shown me who I am. She has changed my mindset to a place that I know that I am more powerful today than I would have ever been if I had never met Barbara Smith.
Labs to Go is your vaccination destination for students, teachers, nurses, or anyone wanting to get first-time, seasonal, and booster immunizations. We also offer titers to ensure you're immune to vaccine. At Labs to Go, there are no doctor orders or insurance needed. We can come to you because we are Labs to Go.
Get your vaccination at our office, or we can come to your business, school, or even go to your home. When you need to know, call Labs to Go.
I love to introduce somebody really awesome. He is a master of training other speaker, and he is a great speaker because I saw him speaking, and he hardcore. He looks like athlete. He looks like a fighter. But when he starts speaking, he speaks with a real warm heart and really touch people's heart and really fascinate people.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes. They're not fond of rules and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them or disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the one thing you cannot do is ignore them. Because they change things, they push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that do.
Reuben West communicates by connecting with his audience when he presents and when he's sharing a key message. Being able to connect and communicate your instructions clearly is a masterful skill.
The ultimate professional. Reuben is a guy that not only teaches a message, but also demonstrates the message. He's helped me to craft my art, and I'm sure he'll help you to craft yours.
Very accomplished international speaker, being able to just connect to any audience, no matter where they come from or what kind of people they are. He helps you and serves you in every kind of way to elevate you as a speaker, and I highly recommend him.
He is a people's heart connecting scientist with a using instrument of your voice and your appearance and your heart to touch people's heart.
His communication is unmatched. I'm Australian, he's American, and it really makes no difference as to our culture and where we have come from, because his message, the way he communicates it, is from humanity.
Find a way to take the next step. Thank you.
Charles Gates here, host of Local Legislative Live at 11, where we air most Wednesday mornings at 11 a.m. on both Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We have two purposes at Local Legislative Live at 11. This is a new product that we're putting out, and I want to introduce it to you today. One is to help you become a more concise messenger. What does that mean? That means stop rambling and being able to share your message and share that message with 12 words or less. Number two, be a better deliverer of that message. Deliver with power, deliver with energy, instead of sending people to sleep. If that is you, come see us, reach out to me at Let's Talk 1031 at gmail.com. We want to see you. Again, that email is let's talk 1031 at gmail.com. We've got the answer for you because we want to make you the best you can be. Come see us. Take care.
Yes, folks, definitely some great conversation there and some great motivational speakers that folks may be interested in checking out and learning more about. Of course, one of them is my good friend, definitely Barbara Smith. We've become friends through Eric Kelly and others. So definitely glad that she's doing some amazing things. As a matter of fact, she's at an event in Africa right now, and I understand that she might be there for a while on this lovely trip. And I'm looking forward to hearing what she's got to say when she returns back and all of that. And I think that that is scheduled to come back sometime in another week and a half to 2 weeks or something along those lines. So definitely it'll be interesting to hear some of the things that she wants to share with us and some of the knowledge that she's going to pass on and all of that. By the way, we were just talking about COVID cases, and apparently there was another surge again. That's the U.S. officials have logged the largest weekly rise in COVID-19 cases on Sunday since April of last year, as fears grow around the potency of the Delta variant in less vaccinated areas of the nation. Health officials have reported that 136,351 cases last week is a 47% spike with 1,629 deaths, according to Johns Hopkins University. Daily vaccination numbers are continuing to plummet, with the U.S. recording on average 506,771 vaccinations per day, according to Bloomberg. Some 4 million shots were being administered daily back in mid-April. Pfizer BioNTech announced that they are developing a booster shot to target the Delta variant, and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention released updated guidance urging K-12 schools to fully reopen in-person learning this fall, even if they cannot take all the necessary precautions. Y'all may be seeing a puzzled look on my face because I'm trying to figure out how that actually makes sense if we're having a spike. We want the kids to go back into the schools and all of that, and not always having the necessary precautions. Seems like we should at least have the precautions in place and all of that. But that's just my opinion, because I'm sitting there going like, don't we want the kids to be safe as well? I know that they are a less susceptible population, but still, I'm not feeling it really about having them go into the schools with at least not having the precautions and maybe even being masked up and things of that nature. But it would be interesting to see what parents have to say about that. I'm just a uncle and don't have any kids of my own. Of course, I've got friends with kids, and definitely kids that I consider very much important in my life and everything. But I'd love to hear what folks' thoughts are about going back to school with this push and everything. And it definitely said that in response, schools are pushing students to get vaccinated before the start of classes. So they are asking the students to at least get vaccinated. And I definitely think that that is a good thing for them to do, because definitely they have said that to kids, the majority of them, I believe, can be vaccinated as well. So definitely it'll be interesting to see what folks have to say about that. I know that Nancy Sperling was saying that she's spoken to people who say they will wait until others have taken the vaccination and see what the outcome is, and others who are afraid they will get blood clots if vaccinated. Then I weigh the risk and benefits and say I would rather be alive than in a hospital fighting for my life. That's actually what her opinion was, and I can definitely understand that kind of thought. She did mention that after getting the second shot, some did feel sick for a couple of days, but I think this is better than not being able to take a breath of fresh air or see the sunrise the next day. And after 15 months, this particular person was saying that they are so happy to be seeing friends, family, and colleagues without a mask, knowing I can still get COVID and taking precautions when need be. Healthy, stay healthy all is what they were urging folks to do. And that is a great sentiment, and that's what I'm hoping many folks are doing as well. So it will be interesting to see what folks' thoughts are in that regard and everything. There's things that are going on, and because of the Champlain Tower disaster, in terms of Florida confronting the condo-led lifestyle. So the devastating collapse of the Champlain Tower condo building in Surfside, Florida, has led to something of a reckoning along the South Florida coastline. Beachside condo buildings dominate the shore from Palm Beach County all the way to Miami Beach and have long embodied the Florida dream of sunshine and prosperity, according to the New York Times. But now, as the tragedy consumes the region, condo residents are pondering the safety of their homes. It's led many to consider whether the Florida dream, as they knew it, is a little broken. And by the way, at least 70 people at that disaster have been confirmed dead, with 62 others still missing. And after 2 weeks of search and rescue, Miami-Dade County Mayor Daniela Levin Cava said local crews have exhausted every option in their mission will now focus on recovery. So it sounds like they're definitely going to be trying to find the recovered bodies and things of that nature. So it definitely does not look like there is any hope of any survivors coming out that aren't already accounted for, according to that kind of report and everything in that regards, all of that. And I'm sure that some people are also wondering about the impact that this will have on the insurance business and the politicians in terms of regulations and things of that nature. As a matter of fact, Miguel Escobar, who is with the International Real Estate and Economic, and who is an international real estate and economic development strategist, says that all kinds of associations will be hit with more frequent inspections, obligatory reporting to government authorities of dangerous situations, minimum reserve funds, minimum insurance deductible funds, higher insurance premiums, etc. The tragedy was the perfect storm of many failures, from the original design to maintenance and complacency. The silver lining will be, I hope, the immediate inspection of residential towers in the vicinity and the evacuation of any suspicious structures in order to prevent any future loss of life. And that is definitely something that would be wonderful if, through the disaster, we at least have some sort of action taken so that we don't have any more of these type of disasters and all of that. So it'll be interesting to see what folks' thoughts are on this, and definitely what people are thinking about in that regard. So I'm definitely curious to hear what folks' thoughts are and what way they are going, their thoughts patterns, and what they're hoping to have happen. And by the way, another article was, does Hollywood expect too much? There's an unspoken expectation that young workers in the film and television industry should tolerate behavior that would be deemed abusive in most other industries. That's the contention of a viral post on LinkedIn by a television production assistant that details the extremities and daily humiliation of what is often expected from young workers in his field. So definitely one of the things that they were saying, and this was an associate producer at a major cable channel, but he was saying that he regularly went hungry as a production assistant in New York City because his pay was so low. I remember one especially humiliating moment when I ate my line producer's leftovers that they threw in the trash. It was at the end of a 14-hour day with no lunch or dinner comp. At the time, I laughed with my bosses while I reheated the leftovers in the microwave. But looking back, that's just sad. I don't want anyone to ever go through something like that just to work in TV. This is the norm for a lot of TV support staff, applying for unemployment, racking up credit card debt, going hungry, and burnout. We're apparently, according to what this gentleman is saying, witnessing a reckoning or a moment of reckoning in our industry. The union representing TV support positions, IATSE, and I actually know some people that work for that union, is currently negotiating with the Union for Producers and Studios, EMPTP, and what they're fighting for: sustainable pension and health benefits, reasonable rest, improved working conditions, and livable wages. I'm going to get some of my friends that are in the film industry, both as independents as maybe a few that are in a more advanced kind of part of the industry, to come in and talk about their thoughts on this as well. And this person that was writing this particular LinkedIn article, Sebastian Muriel, said that this fight is about equalizing in the industry. It has always favored the rich because the only way to make it is through low-paying assistant-type jobs. Why else do you think 67% of TV writers and 80% of screenwriters are white? So definitely also calling out some of the racism as well. Your favorite content is nothing without a crew that makes it happen, and our generation's tolerance for exploitation is wearing thin. So certainly a very powerful comment they made and everything. And I may be trying to reach out to Mr. Muriel and seeing if he wants to come on and share some of his story directly with us here in this forum, because it sounds like he's got a lot of things to say, and a lot of people may be interested in his thoughts and about things that he has going on in that regard. So it'll be interesting to see what folks' thoughts are and all of that. So definitely that is one of the stories. A lot of people were also very much paying attention to Italy beating England in the Euro finals, and apparently some racist comments. We were actually talking about that on the World Edition News earlier this morning that were made, and definitely Boris Johnson and others came out against those racist comments and said that that should not be tolerated in the least bit. But other people were just thinking that it was boys being boys, or the kind of case of folks being very nationalistic in their thoughts in terms of rooting for their country's team and all of that. So they were not necessarily putting it as a racial call, even though everything that I've heard about it does sound like they were definitely putting it in a racial context. So I cannot get with that at all, even though some people may just think it was nationalistic and all of that. And I've also heard some people speculating about the fact that there were so many fans in the audience in the first place, and that could have created a super spreader event, because those are still possibilities out there. I know more and more people are getting vaccinated. There are parts of the world where the vaccinations aren't even at American levels, and I'm sure there might be parts where it's better. But definitely, that being said, that does not mean that we need to be having this rush to have these super spreader type of events and everything. And even though I've been involved in some festivals and things of that nature, I'm glad to be involved. And outside, I do understand the concerns of folks and people wanting to make sure that things are done correctly, safely, and all of that. So definitely, that's very interesting, and we'll see what folks have to say about that. And if folks are watching and they've got comments that they would love to share, we've already had a few from my friends and associates. I would love to hear what you've got to say as well. I was reading an article earlier today where they were talking about New York and how it's just so easy to walk around, and it's easy apparently even to get hotels and other things in New York, because New York is still very much not as crowded as it used to be. So one of the articles that was being shared in LinkedIn was New York and New Jersey subways and train riders have long memories. Even as companies call workers back to offices, most suburban commuters are shunning a full-scale return to the nation's most expensive and time-consuming commutes, according to Bloomberg. Prior to the pandemic, about 1 million workers commuted from tri-state area suburbs. Now with just a fifth of the New York workers back in their offices, and cases once more beginning to inch up, local officials fear that doomsday scenarios of mass service and staff cuts may have to be revived if commuters continue to decline to return. So definitely, as a matter of fact, one of the deputy editors for LinkedIn says that this is one of the hot button topics for workers in the tri-state area. With COVID cases climbing again, it will be interesting to see whether commuters will return in mass. Right now, government funds are subsidizing public transit services, but if workers continue to shun them, services will need to be cut and jobs as well. And what are your thoughts on returning by train and buses commute to the office? I'd love to know that as well. So definitely let me know, as well as let the folks on LinkedIn know your thoughts about going back to work via mass transit. Like I said, I've seen people on there. We are still doing the free buses and have been doing that entirely during the pandemic. I'm sure that at some point they will make it that you have to actually pay some sort of fee. But right now we are still on the free system and all of that. And that includes TTA, which is the one that goes between Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. And definitely it'll be interesting to see along the lines what people's thoughts are about getting back into the mass transit system and all of that. But definitely, I don't know what folks' thoughts are and whether they want to get back or not get back into that particular kind of situation. But I'd love to hear from folks as to their thoughts in that regards. And one of the other things that is going on is that the U.S. unemployment rate may not be the only thing on the rise. Job openings are at a record high, and wages in the retail and restaurant industries are rising rapidly. So what's causing the mismatch between available positions and unemployed job seekers? Many workers moved during the pandemic to locations with fewer job openers, and workers' views around remote work and commuting have also changed, according to the Wall Street Journal. Over 50% of U.S. hospitality workers reportedly won't go back to their old job, according to a jobless survey. The incentives would not change their decisions. Restaurant workers are quitting as restaurants reopen. These jobs are very difficult, and if restaurants are short-staffed, the jobs are worse and they're harder, according to one labor expert that gave their opinion on this as well. So Gerald Williams, a community business development person, was saying, the existing dilemma has been around for a long time. There have been a number of people that have experienced not working or employed in their field of expertise. However, they adapted, and most became successful in making the adjustment. That was decades ago. The workforce has changed. The workforce mindset has changed. The economy has changed. Remember, there was an economic paradigm shift in 2008 that has permanently affected the balance of economic power, both personally and professionally. The pandemic exposed where the economic power shifted, along with wages and healthcare benefits not meeting the demand for certain sector employment. We are embarking upon another shift, especially in the hospital, food, and customer service industries. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out and what goes on in that regards. Now, for those of you that are thinking about, the big powers to be in the world of entertainment, Disney is definitely one of those. And Disney has taken the unusual path of breaking out the streaming revenue collected by its latest blockbuster film, The Black Widow, alongside its weekend box office taken. The film, the first Marvel franchise title Disney has sent to theaters in 2 years, scooped up 80 million at cinemas over the weekend, a more than solid pandemic era kind of return and everything. But industry analysts were fascinated by Disney's disclosure of opening week online sales data from Disney Plus streaming site. The film raked in more than 60 million globally via the streaming app. So it does look like a lot of people are going to be looking into doing this kind of new way of doing things where you release things both at the movie theaters as well as through streaming outlets. As a matter of fact, Vanessa Adams, who is an entrepreneur, said that movie theaters are a part of the world landscape. Movie theaters, as I have stated before, are not going anywhere anytime soon, no more than restaurants going away simply because one can get a gourmet meal delivered or in a frozen dinner. Date night with a practical stranger or someone you're getting to know will always need mutual space for meetups. Movie theaters allow groups or couples to have shared viewing experiences without needing to be in personal private space. You do realize that sometimes you may want to see something with others, but you don't necessarily want them in your home. Great, and I definitely heard that. In fact, I was having a conversation where they were even talking about that kind of etiquette within Clubhouse, because sometimes people try to make it as if they want to be personal friends with people, even in that app. And a lot of the folks that are in that app are like, give me my space and give me my leverage and leeway and everything. Don't try to crowd me, because there are some folks that might try to crowd folks in that regard and all of that. But definitely we need to respect the ladies as well as just respect people in general. So I'm definitely a fan of definitely showing the respect and all of that. And apparently there is a war on email, and this will be an interesting article. I've actually seen this article before, but I'd love to hear y'all's comments on it. But apparently the generational divide in many offices not only spans fashion sensibilities and pop culture references for many workers, it also encompasses how they feel about the tools they use to do their jobs. The New York Times has said that, for instance, most Gen Z workers was born between 1997 and 2012 loathe email. They just don't like email, citing shortcomings like errant messages in spam folders and anxiety around timely replies. The workers over 30 say email remains a top collaboration tool, the consulting firm Creative Strategies found, and Gen Z workers prefer video chats, instant messaging, or live collaborative documents over email, according to what researchers found. So one of the people is involved in that, Chris Drury, was saying this article about struggling with email overload and how do we escape from email hit a nerve, primarily because it seems if it's not email that overwhelms us, it will be text messages, snaps, messages, Slack, etc. She says that she currently has over email accounts, and even with efficiency solutions, she still has to manage important emails going to the spam folder, being added in endless marketing emails because she attended a conference 4 years ago. And that conference apparently gave her a lot of emails and all of that. And now my email has been sold to dozens of firms. And yes, people will do that. And they will definitely grab it and send it to you. Endless CCs, exclamation points that urge her to read them, and all caps, urgent, which appeared to be a new priority level. And yet I still get emails that are 4 or 5 paragraphs or more and 200 plus words long. And then she says, every time I get to a text, it says, did you see my email, or worse, my last email, indicating there are several more that I need to dig through to find that last email. I mentally calculate every text I get in a given day that says just that and calculate which one is truly on fire. And yes, she was saying that she does feel guilty for not replying faster, but every response deserves thought, follow-up, and an inevitably some action. Spelling considerations for tone, punctuation, grammar, brevity, balanced with sufficient details so that I can sufficiently respond to an email with an appropriate level of urgency. And even in Clubhouse, I've heard people asking you to actually, know that people don't always going to respond to you immediately. So don't be worried about that, but also be very precise in why you were getting in touch with them, what resonated with what they were saying, and things along those lines. And I can definitely agree with those kind of thoughts, and I can definitely see where there's a new era of doing emails and everything would be handled differently by different generations. We don't even want to get into what our baby boomers that are the groups that I'm part of are doing the most of and all of that. But definitely we can see where that would be an issue and where people might be thinking about things in that regards and everything along those lines. So it'll be interesting to hear what people's thoughts are about these different things going on and what their plans are for dealing with them and everything. So I would love to hear from people, their comments on a couple of these articles that I have brought up and what they would like to see happening in their mind in that regard. So definitely that's some of the things going on with the radio show with Mark Lee. I'm definitely going to bring up a couple of more spots and things, might even bring up the friend of mine's poem that they do and everything, and let y'all catch that because it is a great poem and a poem that I love sharing with folks on a regular basis. But I also want y'all to check out some of the other shows that exist, including my friend Sasha's Chess Stars, which is a great show here on the network, and also his investing show. So let's check out a little bit about that, and then I may come back with the poem as well.
And I am the owner of Fist Mobile Physical Therapy.
Fully rehabilitate at home with Fist. PT's Total Knee Knockout Program. Bring the clinic right into your home as Dr. Krier takes you through 12 effective physical therapy sessions that completely rehabilitate the knee safely, efficiently, and effectively. The program is structured with custom exercises to target the muscles necessary to promote healing and get you moving. Get the entire program for one low price.
And anyway, as a result of the accident, I had to have 3 surgeries and 15 months of physical therapy 3 days a week in order to be able to walk again, to sit up by myself, and to be able to breathe again on my own. As you can imagine, it was not easy, but due to God, first and foremost, and my wonderful healthcare team, I persevered and I pushed through. And I am not proud to say that it's been 13 years now and I have no pain whatsoever, and I thank God that I'm able to share and pass that blessing on to you. So as you go through this rehab protocol, just know that it may not be easy, it may not be fun, but it will definitely be worth it, and I'm with you every step of the way. And I want you to know that if I can do it, you can do it. So let's go ahead and get started with this.
Hi, I'm Barbara H. Smith, known as the Masterful Presenter.
If you could figure out a universal language, personality code that connects with potential client, how powerful would that be?
I empower people to communicate better what they do, what they have, and what they bring to the table.
People love to buy. I don't need you to sell it to me. I come in there with an intention, and that's what you're going to do going forward. You're going to go into networking events with intention.
I am here benefiting from the wisdom of Barbara Smith.
She gave so much information on how I can just excel in my business, and I'm taking it to a whole nother level.
I'm learning a lot that I didn't really know about my business.
The information that she's been presenting has been informative and helpful to me.
If you have not been in the presence of Miss Holmes Smith, you need to make sure you do so. Her workshops are authentic. She comes with such training, and she just graces you with her presence, and she allows you to feel the experience like none other before.
Yes, Brother Mike does a great job with the Mind Closet show, sharing a lot of wisdom and things of that nature. And of course, having some great conversations about everything from spirituality to abuse to trauma to a number of other things, even dealing with some of the police situations that are going on in his own country and everything along those lines. So always glad to have Brother Mike share his show, which is actually on Fridays and all of that. So definitely it's a Friday morning show and definitely worth catching and all of that. So definitely very interesting show. And I think a lot of y'all will be quite interested in that show if you get a chance to check it out. So like I said, it's on Friday mornings. And of course, the Gamers Den, which I'm part of as well, which looks at a lot of issues around the world, but uses gaming as kind of the backdrop to talk about these issues, is on Thursday at noon. So I may bring a spot up about that as well in the not too distant future or before the end of this show and everything. But, you know, definitely the Biden administration is sending up to $300 per child a month to most American families, or thanks to a temporary increase in the child tax credit that advocates hope to extend. So it looks like there might be some money coming to those of you that have got kids and everything. So I know that my younger brother might be very much excited about this and everything. So the article actually came out earlier this afternoon that if all goes as planned, the Treasury Department will begin making a series of monthly payments in coming days to families with children, setting a milestone in social policy and intensifying the debate over whether to make the subsidies a permanent part of the American safety net. With all but the most affluent families eligible to receive up to $300 a month per child, the United States will join many other rich countries to provide a guaranteed income for children, a goal that has long animated progressives. Experts estimate the payment will cut child poverty by nearly half, an achievement with no precedent. But the program, created as part of the stimulus bill that Democrats passed over unified Republican opposition in March, expires in a year, and the rollout could help or hinder President Biden's pledge to extend it. Immediate challenges loom. The government is uncertain how to get the payments to millions of hard-to-reach families, a problem that could undermine its poverty-fighting goals. Opponents of the effort will be watching for delivery glitches, examples of waste, or signs that money erodes the desire of some parents to work. While the government has increased many aid programs during the coronavirus pandemic, supporters say the payments from an expanded child tax credit at a one-year cost of about $105 billion are unique to their potential to stabilize both poor and middle-class families. According to Senator Cory Booker, a Democrat from New Jersey. It is the most transformative policy coming out of Washington since the days of FDR. America is dramatically behind its industrial peers in investing in our children. We have some of the highest child poverty rates, but even families that are not poor are struggling as the cost of raising children goes higher and higher. Among America's 74 million children, nearly 9 in 10 will qualify for the new monthly payments up to $250 a child, or $300 for those under 6, which are scheduled to start on Thursday. Those payments, most of which will be sent to bank accounts through direct deposit, will total half of the year's subsidies, with the rest to come as a tax refund next year. Mr. Biden has proposed a 4-year extension in a broader package he hopes to pass this fall, and congressional Democrats have vowed to make the program permanent. Like much of Mr. Biden's agenda, the program's fate may depend on whether Democrats can unite around a bigger package and advance it through the evenly divided Senate. The unconditional payments, which critics call welfare, break with a quarter century of policy. Since President Bill Clinton signed a 1996 bill to end welfare, aid has gone almost entirely to parents who work. Senator Marco Rubio, a Florida Republican, recently reported that the new payment with no work required would resurrect a failed welfare system and provide free money for criminals and addicts. But compared to past aid debates, opposition has been so far mostly muted. A few conservatives support children's subsidies, which might boost failing birth rates and allow more parents to raise children full time. Senator Mitt Romney, a Utah Republican, has proposed a larger child benefit, though he would finance it by cutting other programs. So he would finance it by cutting other programs and things of that nature. So it is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out and what folks' thoughts are about the child tax credit, and definitely us sending money so that the children actually are pulling their weight, as the old saying used to go, and everything. But I'd love to hear from my fans on LinkedIn as well as other places their thoughts about this particular tax plan and this monthly payment that apparently is coming down and all of that. By the way, there was a meeting earlier today about gun violence. I know that that is another issue that Biden has been very much concerned about and things of that nature. So he met with Rick Garland, Eric Adams, and other leaders to promote his plan to reduce gun violence. So he has a plan to reduce gun violence, and he met earlier today with a group of federal and local leaders to promote his administration's strategy to combat an alarming rise in gun violence, kicking off a week in which he will focus on trying to shore up several domestic priorities that are confronting daunting challenges in Congress. In remark to reporters at the beginning of the meeting, President Biden said he planned to talk about ways that the federal government can help communities fight rising crime, especially the increasing gun violence in cities. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. We know there are some things that work, Mr. Biden said, and the first of those that work is stemming the flow of firearms. The meeting, in part an effort by the president to distance himself from his party's defund the police messaging, included Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, the tough on crime Democrat who won the party's mayoral primary contest last month, as well as several mayors of other big cities and police chiefs. Unveiled late last month, Mr. Biden's plan largely encourages jurisdictions across the country to do what they can to bring down crime as hopes for federal legislation grow dim. It includes urging local agencies to draw on $350 billion in funds from his $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package to support law enforcement. President Biden has also directed the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives to more quickly revoke the licenses of gun dealers who failed to run background checks. But as the White House seeks to combat a surge in violence, homicides rose 30% and gun assaults 8% in large American cities last year. The issue is politically freighted for Mr. Biden and the Democrats as they both seek to have it both ways, demonstrating a commitment to fighting crime while not alienating voters angry about excessive violence by the police. So definitely Republicans have been accusing President Biden of being soft on crime, but as a presidential candidate, he declined to embrace calls from the progressive wing of his own party to defund police departments after police shootings of African Americans. And as president, he has called for more investment in law enforcement. So it definitely looks like he is behind the law enforcement, getting some additional money and things along those lines. And on Wednesday, he's going to be turning to another important issue that I know Steve Rao, who is one of our people here, will be glad to know that he is having a conversation about, which is that issue of a centrist infrastructure proposal that, after lengthy negotiations with Republicans, amounts to 40% of what he had proposed to spend for broadband, electric vehicles, and water infrastructure. Mr. Biden, or President Biden, will meet at the White House with a bipartisan group of governors and mayors to highlight the particulars of the plan, proposal, and a companion bill in which Democrats plan to address their other economic priorities will face difficult paths through Congress, given the party's narrow majorities and the sheer ambition of the legislation. So definitely it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, particularly when folks come back, because the Senate will return to Washington on Monday from a 2-week recess, facing a pile of complicated legislative work and key deadlines looming in the push to enact President Biden's far-reaching economic agenda. So Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York and the majority leader, said that when asked about some of the things that they're looking at, including that bipartisan investment in roads, bridges, high-speed internet, and other infrastructure projects, as well as a far larger and more partisan package that would include tax increases on corporations and the rich to fund an expansion of the social safety net and programs to fight climate change. Chuck Schumer was saying, we're proceeding on both tracks very well. I was on the phone all weekend talking to all kinds of different people and legislators about moving forward on those tracks, as well as with the White House and the president, and we're moving forward. So definitely a lot of people are going to be curious to see how this all plays out, particularly as they're going to need apparently some bipartisan support and things of that nature and everything along those lines. And by the way, it does look like the U.S. was standing with Cuban protesters at a recent event. So President Biden on Monday called on the Cuban government to heed the demand of thousands of citizens who took to the streets on Sunday to protest power outages, food shortages, and a worrying lack of medicine. We stand with the Cuban people and their clarion call for freedom, President Biden said in a statement. The United States calls on the Cuban regime to hear their people and serve their needs at this vital moment rather than enriching themselves. So it definitely looks like a lot of folks are getting behind the citizens that definitely would like some answers from the Cuban government and all of that. And well, that's an interesting article. Apparently, Texas Democrats are planning to flee the state to thwart Republican legislatures to restrict voting. So Democrats in the Texas legislature are planning to board chartered flights and flee the state on Monday, heading for Washington in an effort to stop state Republicans from passing voting restrictions and to pressure Congress to act on voting rights. The group has arranged 2 flights from Austin, with plans to arrive in the nation's capital by the early evening, but it was unclear as of midday how many Democrats might flee, and it would be enough to prevent Republican lawmakers from obtaining a quorum, which is required to conduct state business. The goal of the Texas Democrats is to put new pressure on Democrats in the U.S. Senate, who so far have tried but failed to pass federal legislation to counter broad voting restrictions adopted by 14 Republican-controlled states since President Trump's loss in November. The president tried Biden planning to deliver a major speech on voting rights on Tuesday in Philadelphia. The exodus from Texas could lead to a dueling showdown in Austin and Washington. So earlier today, Steve was asking me what the president is doing and everything, and it looks like he's having a lot of conversations about a lot of issues. So it looks like gun control was the issue on today. Voting will be the issue on Tuesday, and it looks like he's going to be touching into a conversation around the infrastructure on Wednesday. So it does sound like he's been quite busy. So I know that earlier Steve and some of the World Edition crew were asking what the president has been up to, and it does look like he has been quite busy trying to find some answers and some solutions to a number of problems that folks may have in their mind and all of that. By the way, if you're watching and you're listening and you've got some thoughts about any of these things that I have shared, I would love to hear your thoughts. We love having an engaging conversation and a conversation between all of us here that are seeing what's going on and all of that. So definitely, if you've got some thoughts that you would like to share, don't hesitate to come into the room. I'll actually put the link into a banner. So if folks are interested, they can definitely come in and join us in this conversation. Always great to talk to people and see what their thoughts are about a number of issues that are going on in the world and all of that. So definitely, if you are interested, we would love to hear from you and hear y'all's comments shared as well. So definitely, if you are watching and have thoughts on a number of these things, we'd love to have your thoughts and have you share what you would like to see happen as well. So definitely, that is one of the things that we love having, is a chance for people to share their thoughts and all of that. So if you want to jump into the Streamyard and come into the conversation and share your thoughts, that's where we're located at and everything. So you can definitely come into the green room and share your thoughts about anything that you would like to come into and discuss as well. So any of you that are watching that would like to join the conversation, that is how we can be found and all of that. So definitely looking forward to some great conversations with people in that regards and all of that. So definitely, if you've got thoughts on any issues going on in the world, we would love to hear from you and see what your thoughts are about these very important issues that are happening around the world and with us in particular and all of that. So I'm going to let y'all check out one of those favorite things that I love, and this will give you an idea of what we're going to be looking for in the near future from those of you that have talent. But I would love for you to do kind of what Guy Fort has done and provide a poem, or if you want to sing, or however you want to share your talent. But right now, let's check out what Guy Fort was doing with this particular poem, and maybe that'll give some people some inspiration. If you are inspired, the email is bluesradio@gmail.com. That's bluesradio@gmail.com, and you can share your talent as well. But let's hear what Guy Fort has got to say with this particular poem. And I think it might have even been a poem that was actually written by Calvin Allen, but this dramatic reading was done by his friend and mine as well. So let's check it out.
The difference between thinking and doing and living in the 21st century. They teach us about being a real quarterback-oriented games. We don't have to just use video games and live in the shadows of good things because of them. We grow up with agility far larger and bigger than we are tall. Parents are the champions and have to be our first life coaches and know-it-alls. Who knows how this came to be? Coaches will ask you if you know your right foot from your left, if you know yourself, if you act knowingly good or bad, if you can move and negotiate a field with style and form, if you can tackle or throw a pass, or if your last name is that of a clown, if you can let someone know on the team that you are in trouble before you cause yourself or someone else trouble. If you are ready to learn teamwork or aware that you started out today with your pants down or your sportsmanship was left on the kitchen table, if you know the social studies, the alphabets, science, music, characters, and the stats and the numbers of a great student player eligible to stay on the team, and if you know the poise of great athletic champions and their scientific attitudes that are historical or music to us now, if you have the swag of the game, the discipline, the performance, and artistic form down pat, and if you have the style of gymnastics that the sport has with life, if you have the work ethic and determination to make it all seem easy and not a game at all, if you have the knowledge of all the above, or you don't know things like this even make the difference. I think that when it comes to the importance of parents and their field and self-knowledge, wisdom, virtues, and courage, their teachings, love, respect, care that they illustrate on the field and in the grind of life with their actions and their ideas, experiences, muscle, and strategic magic and skills wrapped around us with their priceless love. For their verbs to be that make us winners in this hard and fast third century that Without them, kids and adults, athletes could hardly see or do anything at all. Parents teach us the difference between playing video games and playing on the field. Parents teach us how to be champions. A huge hug should go to parents, coaches, and parent-like community people who have love on the field for you and who are champions for your life, both in and out the games.
All right, let's see what else is happening in the world and all of that. Like I said, I had gone out and run errands earlier, so I had to grab a quick bite to eat because that was actually one of the errands that I had. So that was one of the things that I was doing over here by letting y'all check out some of the great shows that exist here and hear that powerful poem and all of that. But a number of things are going on in the world and around the world and all of that. So we're going to check and see what some of the other news stories are. And of course, folks want to pop in and definitely share their thoughts about the things that they've got going on and all of that. We would love to hear their thoughts as well. So definitely, like I said, a number of things are going on in the world. So people are paying attention to things that are taking place, including what's going on in Haiti. So definitely Haitian officials are saying that the U.S. Based suspect in assassination was seeking power. So they're saying that the person that was based here was seeking power and all of that. And apparently there are still some crisis going on with the Capitol Police 6 months after that takeover of the Capitol and all of that. But let's see first what they've got to say about Haiti, and then we'll come back to the local news as well. The national police chief indicated that he believes a Florida-based doctor, Christian Emmanuel Sanian, was plotting to assume the presidency. The U.S. dispatched a team to assist in the investigation. So definitely that is what he is claiming. He is claiming that a Florida-based doctor had recruited mercenaries, and he's been arrested as the key suspect in the assassination of the president of Haiti, and the national police chief had suggested at a news conference that he believed that the suspect was plotting to become president. To date, some 24 people have been arrested in the killing, but on Sunday, Haitian officials described the doctor as a central figure in the case. Even as Haitian officials offered their most detailed account so far of the plot behind the brazen assassination of the president in the bedroom of his private home last week, there was widespread skepticism among the public of the official version of the events. An increasingly fraught struggle for control of the country is only adding to the general sense of unease and foreboding as an already grim situation in Haiti threatens to descend further out of control. Majority of the sitting members of the Haitian parliament, which is itself in a state of dysfunction, are calling for a new government to replace the interim prime minister, Claude Joseph. Mr. Joseph has issued a series of desperate pleas for foreign intervention to stabilize the nation, including calling on the United States to send troops. American officials signaled that they remained reluctant to provide military forces to Haiti to help secure order, but have sent a team of investigators to help look into last week's assassination, which has left the country teetering. So definitely it'll be interesting to see how this plays out on the international court of law and the international playing field and all of that, because I'm sure that some of the international figures are going to try to get their way into the conversation as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that regards. And like I said, I was mentioning there was an article about the riots which took place some 6 months ago or over 6 months ago. But the department that protects Congress is damaged and depleted following the January 6th assault, with funding, staffing, and operational problems plaguing a deeply demoralized force. So that's the force that is the special force and everything. But as the mob pushed its way through the Capitol's crypt on January 6th, Officer James Blasingame was slammed back against a stone column and nearly overrun. He said that he saw hate in the eyes of the rioters, hoisting Trump flags and making America great again hats as they urinated on the walls where American icons have served and called him racist slurs. He did survive, but the horrors of January 6th, when supporters of President Trump violently breached the Capitol, had a profound impact on Officer Blasingame. He was injured in the head and back. He said he avoids certain hallways at the Capitol, struggles with feelings of guilt, and routinely has flashbacks of fighting off the mob. And his personal trauma mirrors a broader crisis within the U.S. Capitol Police, which is also badly damaged, demoralized, and depleted 6 months after the attack. So looks like, according to him, he was Officer Blasingame. He was saying that they have people retiring like crazy. They have people quitting. And he has filed a lawsuit with another officer against Mr. Trump for damages for their physical and emotional injury. And he added, I have friends who have literally come in and quit. They don't even have jobs. So half a year after the Capitol riot, the 2,000-member police force charged with protecting Congress finds itself at perhaps its biggest crossroads in its nearly 2-century existence. Its workforce is traumatized and overworked as its ranks have been hollowed out by a flood of departures. The agency is facing possible furloughs as it teeters on the brink of running out of funding as overtime costs outpace its budget for salaries. It has been besieged by criticism by members of both parties for the stunning security failure that allowed the assault to occur. And on top of it all, its officers have become the target of conspiracy theories by Republican lawmakers who, following former President Trump's lead, have suggested that a Capitol Police officer premeditated the killing of Ashley Babbitt, a rioter who was shot steps away from the door to the House chambers. So actually, Tim Ryan, who we know has had some interesting thoughts and everything, he said that there's a lot of exhaustion, says Representative Tim Ryan. That's actually not the one I was thinking about. I was thinking about the one from South Carolina. But Tim Ryan was saying that there's a lot of exhaustion. He's a representative from Ohio, and he says that and he's the chairman of the subcommittee that oversees the Capitol Police. They're tired. I think they feel betrayed and unappreciated, and they were betrayed on January 6th, primarily by the leadership. They're embarrassed about how it went down. And the agency says that more than 70 officers have retired or resigned since the January 6th attack, which cost the lives of 2 members of the force who battled the rioters and all of that. So definitely it sounds like there is some serious rebuilding that needs to be done with the Capitol Police Force. I'm sure that they need to have some better rules about how they will be engaging crowds, and hopefully we won't be having any kind of crazy incidents like that anytime in the near future or anytime even in the distant future or anything along those lines. But definitely I can understand after having gone through that horrid thing why folks may be kind of upset about it and pulling out of that particular job. So I can definitely understand all of that. And speaking of things that are different, apparently, a lot of people have this kind of image of Tibet as being kind of a very, I guess, peaceful nation and wonderful kind of lifestyle and all of that. But apparently there is some changes to that. So one of the articles said, scattered among the Himalayas, glimpses of a change in Tibet. An array of forces, including political suppression and the ubiquity of the internet, have made elements of traditional Tibetan lifestyles increasingly challenging. So, they definitely that can see where people might be trying to impose on what they usually find to be a very quiet lifestyle and all of that. So it'd be interesting to see if we've got any friends here on the network that are from around that area and if they've seen anything about it and all of that. Because, like I said, this was an article in the New York Times that was written by a person that has got some experience in that region, a gentleman by the name of Stuart Butler. And one of the things that Stuart Butler said was that he had, traveled around a lot of things. He says, I've been traveling to and walking around the Himalayan and Tibet for some 25 years. During that time, I've written a number of guidebooks on the region for Lonely Planet, Rough Guides, and Brought It. Always travel with a local guide who acts as a translator, and I like to spend as much time as I can walking because doing so increases contact with local people. There's nothing I enjoy more than sitting down in a remote tea shop or nomad tent and talking to people about their lives. Defining the borders of Tibet can be difficult. This is because in some ways there are several Tibets. The area we commonly think of as Tibet today and the area marked on most maps as Tibet is the Tibet Autonomous Region. This is the second largest region or province of modern China, and its regional capital is Lhasa. Before communist forces seized control of Tibet in 1950, it was a functionally independent nation, and its borders were larger than they are today. China refers to its takeover of Tibet as a peaceful liberation. At the time, China says the new communist government was reasserting sovereignty over a territory that was lost after the fall of the Qing, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, dynasty. And much of what is today the mountainous western part of China's Xinjiang province was before the 1950 takeover, politically and culturally a part of Tibet known as Kham. Likewise, to the north of the Tibet Autonomous Region is the Chinese province of Qinghai that was also historically a part of Tibet known as Amdo, though it fell under the Chinese control in the 18th century. And then there are the parts of the Himalayas that are culturally Tibetan, even if they have never, or not for a long time anyway, been politically a part of Tibet. These include the Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan, parts of Nepal, most notably Upper Mustang and Dopal, as well as some valleys to the north of the main mountain peaks, and parts of India, especially Ladakh, the setting of a long-standing border dispute. So it says the Tibetans are mostly adherent of their own traditions of Buddhism, and monasteries and nunneries have long been a central part of the cultural and life. The spiritual leader of Tibet is the Dalai Lama, who was based in Lhasa until 1959, when he and many of his supporters fled in the wake of a failed uprising. He is now based in Dharamsala in northern India, where an entire Tibetan government in exile has been set up. So it looks like there's a lot of interest about Tibet, and of course there's always been interest about kind of their spiritual beliefs and their thought patterns and things of that nature. So definitely they were even saying that tourism has played a part in the changes being brought on the region. In certain areas, a massive trekking and adventure travel industry has developed, and while the revival of thousands of international tourists brings environmental and social change, it has allowed families to remain in the mountains and to profit off the nature around them and the Tibetan culture. So we do know that folks have a very much interest in Tibet and other exotic places. So that's an interesting article. So I would urge people to go check it out and see what they learned about Tibet and some of its culture and all of that. So definitely it was a quite fascinating article, and I'm sure folks will find some things that are of interest to them as well if they bother to check out that particular article. And like I said, I'd love to hear from some of the people here on the network, maybe some folks that are even part of the network may have traveled to Tibet and can share with us their thoughts of that particular region of the world and all of that, because we do love to keep track and learn more and more about things going on in the nation, around the nation, and even around the world as well. So I'd love to hear people's thoughts about Tibet and its kind of role in society and all of that. So definitely, if people are watching and have thoughts on that regards, I would love to hear your thoughts in that regards. Y'all know I'm a big fan of the art, so I'm also going to let you check out an article in that. Matter of fact, there is an article about something that my friend Zach will find interesting. But there was an article about maggot brain. So there's an article in the New York Times today about maggot brain. So the Funkadelic's third album was a psychedelic blast of freewheeling protest music. As the LP turns 50, they are actually going to look back at the music that fueled it and that was inspired by it. So on more than 3 dozen virtuosic genre-blurring studio albums released from 1970 to 1982, George Clinton and the members of his Rollickin' Parliament Funkadelic Collective shaped the backbone and shook loosely the booty of modern groove. Formed by singers in the orbit of a New Jersey barbershop in 1955, the group started as a Frankie Lyman and the Teenager-style doo-wop act before leaning into Detroit soul. Ultimately, they absorbed the culture of the late 60s like sponges, and the Parliament transformed from a Motown-inspiring matching tie and handkerchief vocal group into a tripped-out hippies in bell-bottoms, headdresses, and the occasional American flag diaper. They were turned on by psychedelic rockers like Jimi Hendrix and Cream. They hung out with punks like the MC5 and the Stooges. They enjoyed Black Power, free love, and underground comics. Free your mind and your eyes will follow, they famously sang. The kingdom of heaven is within. However, according to the article that is in today's paper, Funkadelic's third album, Maggot Brain, wasn't a technicolor romp. It was the sound of the Woodstock dream deferred. The band emerged screaming from the shadows cast by Vietnam, the racial uprising in their old home of New Jersey and their new home in Detroit, a heroin epidemic, poverty, Kent State, and the death of Hendrix himself, whose passing was rife with symbolism. The album arrived 50 years ago in July of 1971, during a summer ended by the release of 2 other ambitious masterworks of protest soul. The introspective reportage of Marvin Gaye's What's Going On and the brooding disillusionment of Sly and the Family Stones, There's a Ride Going On. But Maggot Brain exists in the different astral plane. It is unleashed ID refracted through the lenses of LSD, 36 minutes of swirling jams, apocalyptic sound effects, heavy metal riffs, hard funk, and lyrical mashups of the Beatles and Martin Luther King Jr. The album's art is provocative, a screaming black woman outside the gatefold, and inside, text from the Process Church of the Final Judgment, the religious group rumored to have ties to Charles Manson. The work that Clinton and his band released in the next decade would transform the base of modern hip-hop. You couldn't turn on a radio in the 90s without hearing a slow-rolling rap song built on a P-Funk sample. Maggot Brain holds a unique place of influence among rock bands, R&B songwriters, and jazz artists thanks to its blacker-than-Sabbath atmosphere and transient soloing. In 2021, its legacy is felt even stronger in the ever-evolving protest music of artists like Kendrick Lamar, D'Angelo, Solange, and Brittany Howard. And it definitely looks like that's a great article that they have there on the New York Times about this, and I would definitely have to pass it on to Zach and see what he's got to say. And I'm sure there might be more details about it and everything, but definitely they gave a shout out to the fact that this is a monumental occasion and all of that. So definitely interesting to see what folks' thoughts are in that regards. And I know in definitely another movie that has an anniversary today, just like Maggot Brain has an anniversary, was Boys in the Hood. That's right, Boys in the Hood is at 30. So Boys in the Hood is about 30 years old. And of course, some people, and this is what the critic was saying, said it was a vivid examination of white supremacy at work. So the director, John Singleton, uses the experience of a father and son, Trey and Furious, to depict how a black community comes undone. So definitely Cuba Gooding Jr. was in that, as was Morris Chestnut. And when it was first released on 12/1991, so it was actually released today some 30 years ago, it immediately made John Singleton a household name in many black communities across the country. The movie was so well received that the particular critic in his article said that his mother decided to take him to the theater. That was a big deal because he was only 10 years old. But despite his mother's reluctance to let him watch films with sex scenes, she explained that it was important that I experience boys. And after the credits rolled, definitely this critic understood why. So ostensibly the story of three friends, Trey, Ricky, and Doy Boy, growing up in South Central Los Angeles. It showed how white supremacy set the conditions that ended in neighborhoods devastated by crime and ultimately violence. Not many white people are featured in the film, but the impact of whiteness on the black life permeates the screen. This is evident when Trey interacts with Los Angeles' finest. As a child, he sees how even a black police officer doesn't take his father, Furious, played by Lawrence Fishburne, seriously when he reports a home break-in. When Trey is older, the same officer pulls a gun on him during a routine traffic stop. He quickly learns that cops are there to neither protect nor serve him or his neighbors. What Singleton shows us about the relationship between the police and the black residents may be well misunderstood now, but at the time it was rare for the black community's view on policing to be so well embodied by Hollywood. So it may be something that we well understand now, but at that time it wasn't something that was talked about a lot and all of that. So this particular critic was saying he was always taught to be wary of officers as a young black man, but this was one of the first times I saw the rationale for that fear on screen in a major American film. So definitely quite an interesting take on the movie, and definitely something that I'm sure a lot of people will be reflecting on what the movie meant to them, and even some of the things that have to do with gentrification, because actually they touched on gentrification as well in the music. As a matter of fact, gentrification is what happens when the property value of a certain area is brought down. Furious says in a monologue, it would be preachy if it were not delivered by one of the most talented actors of the 90s. They bring the property value down, they can buy the land at a lower price, then they move all of the people out, raise the property value, and sell it at a profit. A bystander played by the brilliant Whitman Mayo blames the decline in property value on black youth selling drugs. In response, Furious voices what this movie has been trying to tell us all along. Black people are not the ones who bring drugs into the country, even if they are the ones dying every day. So definitely some very interesting things that are touched on in the movie that are still relevant to this day as well. And like they said, Singleton saw this 30 years ago, and his message still remains relevant even to this particular day and all of that. So those are two monumental artistic things that have happened, the 30th anniversary of Maggot Brain, and of course the 30th anniversary of that hit record, hit movie, Boys in the Hood as well. So that's just some of the things that were going on. I did see an article that was related to Britney Spears, and I may bring up something of that as well, because that was something I know a lot of people have been paying attention to, and it did come up in one of our recent news reports and all of that. But it does look like she maybe have a prominent attorney working for her as she is trying to get out of that conservatorship and possibly even retiring. But Matthew Rosengart, a former federal prosecutor, plans to attend a hearing on Wednesday and makes the case that the singer should be permitted to hire him for her conservatorship battle. So the whole battle around conservatorship, it looks like a prominent Hollywood lawyer has had discussions in recent days with Ms. Spears about representing her in this battle, and he plans to attend a hearing in Los Angeles on Wednesday to begin the process of taking over as her counsel, according to a person briefed on the matter. For the past 13 years, under the legal arrangement that curbs many of her rights, Ms. Spears has been represented by a court-appointed lawyer who she criticized at a hearing last month as she urged the court to let her hire her own counsel. Ms. Spears has told others she wanted to take a far more aggressive legal approach, and in recent days she began having discussions with Matthew S. Rosengart. So it looks like it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out and all of that, but definitely looks like she is in the process of trying to hire Matthew to be her attorney. And I do know that there had even been some talk that she might have contemplated retirement and everything. But the feud has escalated in recent months as scrutiny of the unusual conservatorship has intensified and Ms. Spears has publicly questioned its legitimacy. The guardianship was instituted in 2008 when concerns about her mental health and potential substance abuse led by her father, James P. Spears, to petition for legal authority over his daughter. Since her June 23rd statement to the court, several pillars of conservatorship have fallen. Bessemer Trust, the wealth management firm that was set to take over as the co-conservator of her estate, requested to withdraw. Her longtime manager, Larry Rudolph, resigned, and Samuel D. Ingham, the lawyer appointed by the court to represent her when she was deemed unfit to hire her own counsel, asked the court if he could step down. So it does look like there's a lot of movements and moving parts in this case. And I do know that I had read that she was even thinking about possibly even retiring from the world of the music and all of that. But when you go through all of these kind of craziness and everything, who knows where your mindset may be in that regards and all of that. Well, this has been a abbreviated version of the radio show with Mark Lee. I'm getting ready to end it up right here and everything. But if folks, and then of course we'll have Mullins music and memories later on. But if folks have got thoughts and everything, I will be running a couple of the ads. And if folks got some thoughts that they want to share before we get to the airplane and everything, we can do that. But we're definitely trying to get to at least a 140, 145 mark. So we're going to bring up a couple of the spots and everything. And if you got some thoughts about either some of the entertainment news or some of the other news that I shared, I would love to hear from you. But I'm going to bring up the ad for the Gamers Den. I believe it says 1 o'clock, but the show actually starts at 12. And we have some very lively discussions about a number of issues. And I would love to have y'all join us on that show on Thursday afternoon. But let's check out what we've got with the Gamers Den.
Are you looking for money-saving strategies for your business and personal finances? Are you tired of working hard every day with little or nothing to show for it? Contact Prosperity Financial Services, LLC right now for your free financial consultation. Call now to reserve yours today, 804-349-8600, 804-349-8600.
The difference between thinking and doing and living in the 21st century. They teach us about being a real quarterback-oriented games. We don't have to just use video games and live in the shadows of good things because of them. We grow up with agility far larger and bigger than we are tall. Parents are the champions and have to be our first life coaches and know-it-alls. Who knows how this came to be? Coaches will ask you if you know your right foot from your left, if you know yourself, if you act knowingly good or bad, if you can move and negotiate a field with style and form, if you can tackle or throw a pass, or if your last name is that of a clown. If you can let someone know on the team that you are in trouble before you cause yourself or someone else trouble. If you are ready to learn teamwork or aware that you started out today with your pants down or your sportsmanship was left on the kitchen table, If you know the social studies, the alphabets, science, music, characters, and the stats and the numbers of a great student player eligible to stay on the team, and if you know the poise of great athletic champions and their scientific attitudes that are historical or music to us now, if you have the swag of the game, the discipline, the performance, and artistic form down pat, and if you have the style of gymnastics that the sport has with life, if you have the work ethic and determination to make it all seem easy and not a game at all, if you have the knowledge of all the above, or you don't know things like this even make the difference, I think that when it comes to the importance of parents and their field and self-knowledge, wisdom, virtues, and courage, their teachings, love, respect, care that they illustrate on the field and in the grind of life with their actions and their ideas, experiences, muscle, and strategic magic and skills wrapped around us with their priceless love. For their verbs to be that make us winners in this hard and fast third century that without them, kids and adults, athletes could hardly see or do anything at all. Parents teach us the difference between playing video games and playing on the field. Parents teach us how to be champions. A huge hug should go to parents, coaches, and parent-like community people who have love on the field for you and who are champions for your life, both in and out the games.
Yes, that is a great poem. I had to bring it up one more time and let y'all check that out one last time. But I'm going to bring up the Talking Upstream guys who do a great show as well. And then, of course, we might watch a little bit of that baseball and then get the airplane on out of here. And then, of course, we've got Mullins later on. But this was a slightly abbreviated version of the radio show with Mark Lee.